going to look at it. So foul there on Indiana, on Hull there. But then that is a technical.
That is a technical. Dead ball, contact technical.
It's a little surprising to see so many of these happen in one game because...
Oh, and I don't like the way Lexie Hull...
Remember the last showdown between the Indiana Fever and the Minnesota Lynx? Back then, it was Kayla McBride's elbow that left Lexie Hull on the floor, and somehow Hull was the one whistled for the foul. Fast forward to their latest clash, and the tables completely turned. In Indiana's statement victory, Hull delivered a moment that felt bigger than a highlight. It was payback, resilience, and pure competitive fire rolled into one. This wasn't just a bucket or a defensive stop. It was Hull reclaiming her ground, set bonds. Drop some love for Lexie in the comments. She's earned it.
Final score, Fever 83, Lynx 72. Indiana ends the regular season with an exclamation point. Fever have won 3 in a row as they enter the play.
How does a team hold itself together when almost half its lineup disappears overnight? The Indiana Fever had to wrestle with that reality the hard way. One after another, names kept landing on the injury sheet. Caitlin Clark went down with a groin strain. Sophie Cunningham tore her MCL. Sydney Colson's season ended with an ACL tear. Chloe BBY's knee gave out. Ari McDonald fractured her foot. Put those players side by side and you'd have a starting 5 most coaches would dream of. Instead, they were all reduced to spectators in street clothes. Pile those setbacks on top of each other, and what's left is one of the leanest rosters in the entire league. And truthfully, there isn't a playbook or preseason strategy session in the world that can brace a team for that kind of free fall.
I know a lot of people will talk about Nafisa not playing, but I think they're really good without her. You know, they're just a really great basketball team. So I think it was a big win for us because they set the bar high standard wise. We know what to expect when it comes to Minnesota Lynx, and so I think going into the playoffs, it was big for us because being able to know guarding Courtney Williams, knowing that her thing is a pull-up, knowing that now instead of not knowing that, it's big for us because we give ourselves a chance. And if they are the standard, we get to see what we.
Then came the news no one wanted to hear. Caitlin Clark's season was done. What started as a nagging groin issue was officially stamped as season ending. Just like that, the rookie year meant to catapult Indiana into the national spotlight ended not with a playoff run, but with a press release. For a team already stretched thin, the blow was more than physical. It was emotional. Clark wasn't just filling seats. She was fueling belief. Her energy had carried teammates through rough patches and given fans from Indiana to Iowa a reason to tune in every night. Losing her felt less like losing a player and more like losing the pulse of the season. And with that, the Fever's playoff hopes looked less like a climb and more like sand slipping through their fingers.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been impressed with these guys since even the offseason, really, the ones that I was able to work out with in the offseason, is how hard they work. It's there's a work ethic and there's a work style. And to approach everything in the same way, to be so energetic, enthusiastic, and dedicated every day. And I felt that way in training camp too. There weren't any days where I had to bring that out of them. So I think it's the nature of the women that we've brought into this organization to continue to just bust their butts and play hard.
With Clark stuck on the sidelines, the Fever needed someone to shoulder the weight. Enter Kelsey Mitchell. She didn't just step up, she transformed. Mitchell became the centerpiece of Indiana's offense, rewriting the franchise record books in the process. By season's end, she had surpassed even Tamika Catchings in single-season scoring numbers, cementing herself as the Fever's most prolific scorer ever. To put it plainly, Mitchell averaged over 20 points a night. And these weren't empty stats. She handled the ball, absorbed double teams, and still found ways to deliver when every scouting report had her circled in red. On nights when the Fever looked ready to flatline, Mitchell's offense was the lifeline that kept their season alive.
Kind of all the other things like offensive rebounding that she can do.
Knocked away. Boston comes up with a steal. Here's Mitchell veering through the paint and lays it in.
She's so quick, and especially when she gets out in the open floor, you'll see her coming down. The quick left to right crossover just gets by. I thought she was sprinting. I didn't think she was lumbering.
It was a lumber sprint.
Up for the big girl.
Mitchell like a blur. That's a split.
Aaliyah Boston.
While Mitchell carried the scoring torch, Aaliyah Boston anchored everything else. Night after night, she delivered consistency. 15 points, 8+ boards across her final stretch of games. Those numbers weren't just stats on a sheet. They were proof of reliability in a season where reliability was in short supply. Boston's presence in the paint was Indiana's safety net. She banged with bigger forwards, secured rebounds, and extended possessions when the offense stalled. No matter how patchwork the lineups became, she remained the steadying force in the middle. Along the way, she set a new single-season rebounding record for the franchise. And without her grounding the defense, the Fever's season could have unraveled entirely.
Only 8 teams have ever done that. 7 of them went on to win the title. As Boston gets free and lays it in.
She will be on my first team.
Boston in the paint, sneaks through 2 and lays it in.
So ask yourself, after all that, could this team really still think about a playoff berth? By any logic, the answer should have been no. Yet that's not where the story contributors. Hardship signings put up double-digit performances. Bench players claimed bigger minutes with pride.
Fever done with the MVP, okay? Bow, bow, bow! Hell yeah. You already know what it is. Dubs in the chat, you already know what it is. You already know what it is. Let's go to the playoffs with some momentum, okay?
The turning point was unmistakable. The Fever stopped treating injuries as a death sentence and started treating them as a battle cry. That shift in mindset didn't just change their play on the court, it reshaped how fans saw them. By the time Minnesota Lynx rolled into town, the story wasn't about absences anymore. It was about grit, heart, and a team refusing to be defined by circumstance. This win over Minnesota felt bigger than a regular season matchup because it was. The Lynx had been a league benchmark all year, perched atop the standings, and considered the gold standard. Indiana wasn't playing for pride. They were playing for survival in the playoff race. And they didn't flinch. Though the Fever were already locked into the postseason, the stakes were real. A win, combined with other results, could vault them to the 6th seed. That may sound minor to a casual observer, but in reality, seeding shapes matchups, opportunity, and legitimacy. Higher seeding is more than a number. It's a chance to prove you belong, to make noise, and to claim your spot among the league's best.
Before the playoffs start Sunday tonight, it's regular season game 44 of 44 for the Fever as they host the WNBA's best team in 2025, the Minnesota Lynx.
What makes the Fever's turnaround even more remarkable is just how dire things looked a few weeks ago. They had lost 4 of 5, momentum evaporating, fan excitement cooling, and national chatter questioning whether Caitlin Clark's absence had derailed any hope of real progress. Teams in that position.
It'll be Alana Smith jumping it up against Aaliyah Boston. The ball is tipped, and it's time to hoop at Indy.
A 10-0 run to start this game for Indiana, and Minnesota wants a timeout.
Powers up top, tees it up, 3. It's good! Energy!
Kicks it out, Powers. You bet! Back-to-back threes from Aerial Powers.
The Fever double up the Lynx in the first quarter. It's Indiana 28, Minnesota 14.
The way the Fever controlled that game left no room for doubt. From the opening tip, it was clear they had a blueprint and the confidence to follow it. A 10-0 surge in the first quarter wasn't just a statement. It was a declaration. They were running the show. By halftime, they'd carved out a double-digit lead and never wavered. Never gave Minnesota even a hint of momentum. The Lynx tried to claw their way back. But cold shooting paired with Indiana's relentless pressure defense turned every possession into a struggle. Minnesota connected on just 2 of 23.
Indiana is 4 for 4 from three-point range. Mitchell connects on a 3. Sims leaning jumper is good.
Kelsey driving left, puts it in off the backboard.
Will to it for the first half. Indiana shoots 58% from the floor.
A big part of the story was where the points came from. Odyssey Sims, a recent hardship signing, poured in 15 points off the bench, not just filling a role, but staking her claim and showing she still belonged at this level. Then came Aerial Powers. with Minnesota threatening to chip away at the lead in the second half. She drilled back-to-back threes that swung momentum decisively back to Indiana. Those shots weren't just numbers on the board. They were a statement. 6 points? Sure, but more than that, they were a gut punch. A reminder to the Lynx that this night was firmly the Fever's.
Mitchell, open three. It's good. You can. Lexie Mitchell is a hooper.
Passes Dantas left corner three. Bullseye. Shot clock. Boston left block makes it in.
Natasha Howard earned as much credit as anyone for Indiana's dominance. Every time she stepped on the court, her presence was undeniable, grabbing boards, switching on defense, knocking down shots when the offense stalled. She filled the gaps that appear when half a roster is sidelined, keeping the team steady. And then there was the bench, the same group many had written off earlier in the season. They became the glue, sustaining energy and composure against a formidable Minnesota squad. Against a team defined by its reputation, Indiana looked like the deeper, more complete unit. The results speak for themselves. 24 wins against 20 losses. That may seem like just a number, but it carries weight. It's the franchise's first winning season since 2015. 9 years of false starts, missed chances, and rebuilds that never stuck. Now, finally, the pieces are aligning. This milestone isn't about settling for mediocrity. It's a sign of a cultural reset. The players feel it. The coach feels it. And the fans, who never stop showing up in Indianapolis, feel it too. Was this win a fluke? Absolutely not. It was a controlled statement-making performance by a team that has moved beyond just surviving. Even without its brightest star, Indiana is showing it belongs in playoff conversations. Yet, as impressive as the collective effort was, the headline afterward wasn't just the team victory. It was a moment of personal redemption. That moment belonged to Lexie Hull. Her showdown with Kayla McBride became one of the night's defining stories. Just weeks earlier, Hull had been on the receiving end of McBride's elbow, blood on the court, chaos in the arena, and then the unthinkable. Hull was the one penalized with a technical, while McBride walked free. Fans were furious, not just for Hull, but on her behalf, reinforcing the narrative that Indiana often doesn't get fair treatment. It's redemption. A personal statement that left the crowd buzzing and proved that sometimes the most compelling victories aren't just measured in points, but in reclaiming what was once taken.
Fever done with the MVP, okay? Bow, bow, bow! Hell yeah. You already know what it is. Dubs in the chat, you already know what it is. You already know what it is. Let's go to the playoffs with some momentum, baby.
So when the Fever faced Minnesota again, all eyes were on Lexie Hull. Every Indiana fan wondered, how would she respond? It wasn't just another matchup. It was a test of resolve, a chance for redemption, and an opportunity to send a message that extended beyond the scoreboard.
Here's Mitchell. I think that's a 2. Doesn't go. And now it's McBride getting Hull. Yeah, that one might be a problem. Indiana just taking shots to the face.
Hull's burden had grown heavier thanks to the roster turmoil. With Sophie Cunningham sidelined, she became Indiana's lone healthy wing, carrying longer minutes, taking more shots, and leaving almost no room for mistakes. In the previous Minnesota matchup alone, she logged nearly 40 minutes and dropped 23 points, her best performance in a Fever uniform. Hull no longer looked like a stopgap. She looked like the centerpiece. Every drive, every jumper, every defensive rotation radiated confidence. By the time the defining moment arrived, she had already built the momentum and the mindset she needed to make it unforgettable.
Tonight for Indiana, but then Paulson gives it right back, and Howard cashes in
to perform like this, but they have 5 different players almost at all times who can bring the ball up the floor. Usually 4 or 5 who are adept at making shots from deep. I mean, you just saw a big there creating her own look as well from Natasha Howard. Career high in terms of her field goal percentage. And you see her here, the little spin to the middle. That's a tough shot.
It came in the second quarter when Hull found herself matched up on McBride at the top of the key. One quick dribble to her left, a hesitation that sent McBride lunging. Her balance disappeared, her legs tangled, and the league's cameras captured what everyone in the arena instantly recognized. Kayla McBride had just been dropped and looked like her ankles took the brunt of it. The crowd roared, and within minutes, the clip exploded across social media. Indiana fans called it karma. Neutral fans called it hilarious. To Hull, it was just basketball, but to everyone watching, it was bigger than that, Bo. It was justice written out between 2 players in motion. Everyone who had been disgusted by that earlier technical foul now had a new clip to point to. Instead of being the victim, Hull flipped the script and humiliated the same opponent who'd left her bloodied.
One of us players who is messy, and she's on your team, you love her, and if she's on the other team, she's just annoying. Right? You just gets in and rip the ball out of Smith's hands and just end the effort.
It happened in the second quarter. Hull squared up on McBride at the top of the key. One sharp dribble to the left, a subtle pause, and McBride lunged, off balance, legs tangling. The arena collectively gasped. Every camera in the building captured it. McBride hitting the floor, her ankles taking the brunt. The crowd exploded. Within minutes, the clip was all over social media. Indiana fans cheered karma. Neutral observers laughed at the moment. For Hull, it was just another play. But for everyone else, it carried weight far beyond the game. The energy inside the arena was electric. Teammates leapt from their seats. Fans leaned forward, knowing they were witnessing a moment of pure redemption. That crossover wasn't revenge, it was justice in motion. For those still seething over the earlier technical foul, Hull had flipped the narrative. She'd turned the tables and left the player who'd once left her bloodied flat on the floor.